In this short video, we're going to walk through how to find an original study based on clues from a news study. We have learned that finding the original study is always better than just using the reported news studies. News studies often latch on to things that are maybe suggested and say, oh, this is this causes this, when the actual study is a lot more nuanced. Perhaps they only used a particular population, so they can't say that it affects everyone. Perhaps they are just suggesting that there's some sort of correlation, which means that it might happen at the same time, but they don't know for sure that one causes it. And just from the perspective of coverage, you always want to be using the primary source, the main source. So in this example, I have an article, a news article from the New York Post. The title of this news article is "Christmas Gifts Are Better Received When They're Badly Wrapped. Study." And as we're looking through, a lot of times the news articles will give you a direct link to the full text of the article. In fact, while I was looking for a news article to use, I had to go through a bunch because they're getting a lot better at linking to the main article. So first, always take a look and see, are they linking directly to the main article? And if so, click that. If you don't have the full text, remember that you can search for the title in Google Scholar to see if it's in one of the library databases. In this case, though, this article does not specifically link to the original study, so we're going to have to find some context clues. In Google Scholar, there are a few things that we want to kind of think about. So when we're in Google Scholar and when we're pulling together these different clues, we typically want to use the advanced search. So that is found by clicking the hamburger menu and then advanced search. The first thing that we want to think about is what the main concept of this article is, and it's about wrapping presents. So I'm going to type in present wrapping in the "with all of the words" box. The other two things that it would be nice to have would be an author and a journal, and then of course a date. So let's go back to the New York Post article and see what we can find. So we see in the second paragraph that it says researchers at the University of Nevada, not quite specific enough. But in the third paragraph, there is a quote from a marketing professor and study researcher, Jessica Rickson. So she should be on the article. So that means in Google Scholar, we can return articles authored by Jessica Rickson. Gotta spell that right, Rickson. Okay, so going back and again looking through, finding clues. Near the bottom, it talks about the study published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology. So I can take that piece of information and put it in return articles published in. Typically, if you still need more, you can put the date in, and if it's talking about a new study, it probably will be within the same year that the news article was published. In this case, it was 2019. I'm going to put it in just in case, but you might not need it. Okay, gotta spell her name right. Okay, so we have present wrapping with all of the words. I finally managed to spell the author's name right. This is where copy and pasting is probably better than just trying to remember. I found out that the journal it was published in is the Journal of Consumer Psychology, so that's in return authors published in, and then we know it should be in 2019. So when I click search, I see that there is one result: presentation matters, the effect of wrapping neatly on gift attitudes. And this is found freely available as a PDF, but also in the library database and the full text at Santa Fe. So that's just one example of how you can kind of look for clues to find an original study. Look through, see if you can find a person's name who's listed as being a lead, a co-lead, an investigator, or a researcher. Look to see if you can find out what journal it was published in, and look to see what date it might be published in, as well as figuring out kind of the main part of the study.